Greer's book, The Female Eunuch?
No, I haven't, I'm sorry.
Germaine Greer might not have been a household name back then, but it wouldn't be long before she and her book, The Female Eunuch, went mainstream.
Since Germaine Greer came, everyone's talking about women's liberation. The women are getting together to talk about women's liberation.
I wish that was true. Well, I think what men mistake for happiness was, in fact, resignation and patience.
She's been a constant in public life ever since, an occasional reality TV contestant, and almost always controversial.
You've been a big fan of the C word, and I don't mean cook-along.
She's 80 next year, but not slowing down. Her latest book is called On Rape, and it's no less provocative. Germaine Greer, thank you very much for joining us.
A pleasure.
You write in your essay that about 1 in 5 women will be victims of sexual assault over the course of their lives. That rate is at sharp odds with the paltry rate of conviction. Why is that?
Well, there are lots of reasons why that's the case. One is that women are loath to complain to the authorities. Another is that the actual burden of proof is too difficult. It's the issue of consent. And the thing is that a woman can plead that she did not consent, and the jury, supposing she's got one, can believe her. But if they also believe that the defendant, i.e. the accused man, was convinced or that she did consent, then they can't find him guilty.
Is the problem that the law is unclear about what consent is, or is it just impossible to clearly define consent itself?
Well, nobody does define it. And it is pretty difficult. If you say, for example, you know of somebody who endures sex she doesn't want with her partner because if she doesn't, he will be in a bad mood all day, and about their relationship and about the children having a father and so on. So she endures sex she doesn't particularly want, and that she hasn't actually initiated and that she can't actually control. But that's her life, and that's what she appears to have accepted. To decide that you're going to go down to the police station and say, my husband climbs on me night after night without working out whether I am interested or not, they're not going to leap to bring a case against him.
But don't you minimise the horror of a violent rape by a stranger by discussing it in the same context as marital sex, where a woman goes along with it even if she doesn't feel like it?
No, I don't think I am, really. Stranger rape is very rare. There are very seldom injuries reported. I mean, a penis is nowhere near as dangerous as a gun, or even a knife, or even a fist, or a broomstick, or a bottle. We've over-dramatised the offence committed by the penis and under-emphasised the element of violence. I mean, a violent assault, you don't have to say you consented. Someone punches you in the face, you don't have to say you're not asked, did you consent to being punched in the face?
But surely a violent assault by a stranger, a penis usually would not be the only weapon. There would probably be fists and some form of, restraint involved. Surely an attack like that shatters your sense of security in the world, your privacy, your basic social contract that you have a right to safety that, say, neglect from a loved one or faking an orgasm does not.
I think actually being used without consideration, without care, without conversation, without love, without tenderness for years on end is much more damaging than a sudden encounter with someone who has nothing to do with you. It's like being run over by a bus. It's lamentable, but it's not, you don't have to internalise it. You don't have to say, somehow I brought this on myself.
In rape cases that come before courts, as you mentioned, the question of consent is often central. The modern mantra goes something like, consent should not be the absence of no, but rather the clear presence of yes. What do you think of that?
It's madness. We don't really know what consent is. If you talk to a woman who's given in circumstances where she didn't want her little girl to be woken up, for example, and see her mother fighting with someone who appears to want to do something horrible to her, if you actually grit your teeth and go through with it, you haven't consented. You've given in, which is not the same thing at all.
Since the 1970s and 80s, developed countries have made efforts to give victims of sexual violence a better possibility of redress. But the experience of going to the police, of going to court, is still extremely traumatic. Why has better progress not been made into this?
When you go to a police station to say that you have been sexually abused, you are actually asking a patriarchal authority to intervene on your behalf. What will happen then is that you are not a party to the action. You might be in Belgium, where women are a party to these actions, but elsewhere in the world you are a piece of evidence, and they're going to test you to the utmost.
Does that mean there's really no way that we can make things better for women who come forward about these crimes?
Just about. Under the current system, where we have a patriarchal authority that is acting on behalf of the state.
A writer's job is to rub up against the grain of conventional thinking and to make people think about things in different ways, sometimes in ways that make them feel uncomfortable or even offend them. You've always done that in your career. As a result, you're almost always finding yourself under attack. What effect does that have on you?
None. What effect would it have on me?
Well, I'm just wondering, is it wearing? Is it wearing to constantly find yourself the subject of controversy and criticism?
No, it isn't wearing. Look, I'm a teacher. The only thing I want people to do is to think. And if that means they disagree with me, fine. Then let's disagree. Let's tease it out. Let's try and work out what's going on here.
Do you think that in this age of social media and echo chambers that we have become less open to listening to the arguments of people we disagree with, or has it always been thus?
Look, I hope it has always been thus, really. But, you know, I am faced all the time with this belief that I'm not allowed to speak, that people are shutting me up. None of it is true. I've never been no platform. I've never been shut up. And the extraordinary thing is I talk to audiences of 400 and 500 people, and you may be amazed to learn that a lot of them are there because they agree with me.
Germaine Greer, thank you very much for making time to speak.